So in this video we're going to look at a grade 4 question on shape and algebra, so it's combining those two topic areas. So the question, the diagram shows a right angled triangle and that's given here. All angles are in degrees, work out the size of the smallest angle. So the first thing I'm going to label, I'm going to do this on the diagram, is that angle must be 90 degrees because it's a right angle. And I know that the total of the angles is 180. So I know that I can now create an equation, because if I did 7x, add 5x plus 18, add 90, I get 180 altogether. So if I add all of those three angles together, I get 180. Now if I simplify that, 12x plus 108 equals 180. And I'm now going to solve. So minus 108 from both sides, which leaves me with 12x equals 180 minus 108 is 72. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 12. So x is going to be equal to 6. Okay, now the question's asking me to work out the size of the smallest angle. So I know that's 90 degrees, so I'm going to do 7x, so 7 times 6 for this one. 7 sixes are 42, so that's 42 degrees. This one is 5x, so 5 times 6, plus 18, so 5 times 6 is 30, plus 18 is 48. So the smallest angle in that triangle is this one here. So I can write on my answer line that the smallest angle is 42 degrees. Can you use that example to answer this question here? So pause the video and answer this question. Okay, so if we do the same thing, we've got a 90 degree angle here. We're working out the smallest angle. So I know that 4x plus 6x plus 20 plus 90 is equal to 180. So if I simplify it, 10x plus 110 equals 180. So I'm now going to solve, so minus 110 from both sides. So I've got 10x is equal to 70. Divide through by 10. So x is equal to 7. And then if I substitute back in, so 4 times 7 is 28. 6 times 7 plus 20. Okay, so 6 sevens are 42, plus 20 is 62. So smallest angle in the triangle is this one here. So my answer is going to be 28 degrees. So in this video we're going to look at GCSE Foundation Grade 4, so probability, so aiming for a Grade 4 question. There are red, blue, green and yellow counters in a bag, and the table shows the probabilities of picking a red and yellow counter at random. So they're the only two that we are given. The probability of picking blue is the same as the probability of picking green, and that's important to know. So the first thing to note, when we've got a probability table like this, if we've got all the 4 possible outcomes in the table, the total must be 1, because that's what all the probabilities would add up to. So if I added 0.24, 0.32 and these two together, so the middle two, I will get 1. So the first thing I'm going to do to work those out is do 0.24 plus 0.32. So 0.56. That's the total of those two. Now to work out the remaining total, I'm going to do 1 minus 0.56. Oh, 9. Check that here. So 10 take away the 6 is 4. That was a 9. So 9 take away the 5 is 4. 0.44. So the total of these two is 0.44. Now it says the probability of picking blue is the same as the probability of picking green. So to work out that, I'm going to half 0.44 or divide it by 2. So 2's into 4 go twice, 2's into 4 go twice. So the probability of each of those is 0.22. Can you use that example to answer the question below? So pause the video now, give that a go, and then I'm going to show you the answer. Okay, so same thing here. So when we read the question, it's the same question. So probability of picking red and yellow is there. Blue and green are the same. So I'm going to do 0.16 plus 0.48. So that's 0.64. Okay, then I'm going to do 1 minus 0.64. So same thing. (0.36), and then to work out the value of blue and green, I'm going to half that because they're both the same. So 2's into 0, 2's into 3 go 1's remainder 1, 2's into 16 go 8 times, so my probabilities must be 0.18, and then that's questions 2 marks. Okay, so give yourself the first mark if you got this point, so you got to 0.36, and the second mark for 0.18. So we've got a question on fractions, decimals and percentages. So there are 600 passengers on the train, so I'm going to highlight that because that's the total. 7/20ths are men, 30% are women, and the rest are children. It's asking us to work out the number of children on the train. So I'm going to do it section by section. I've got 600 in total and 7/20ths are men. So in order to work out 1/20th, I'm splitting it into 20 parts. So I'm going to do 600 divided by 20. So that's the same as 60 divided by 2, which is 30. So I know that 1/20th is 30. However, 7/20ths are men. So to get from 1/20th to 7/20ths, I times by 7. So I'm also going to do 30 times by 7, which is 210. Okay, so there are 210 men. 30% are women. So 10% I divide by 10. So 10% of 600 is 60, but I want 30%, so I times that by 3, 180. So there are 180 women. And the remainder are children. So if there's 600 in total, and I'm going to take away the number of men, add the number of women. So 210 plus 180 is 390. So I'm going to do 600 minus 390. So 0 take away 0, 0 take away 9, can't do. 10 take away 9 is 1, 5 take away 3 is 2. So there's 210 children. Use that as your example and try this question here. So again, 500 in total, 7/20ths are men, 40% are women, and the remainder are children. So if we start 500, I want 1/20th first, so that's going to be 500 divided by 20, okay, which is 50 divided by 2, which is 25. But again, I want 7/20ths, so I'm going to times by 7, so 25 times 7 is 175. So there are 175 men. If I'm looking at the number of women, 40%, so 10% is 50. 40% times by 4. Okay, that gets me 200. So there's 200 women. I need the number of children. So I'm going to do 500 minus 200 plus 175. So 500 minus 375. Take that from there. So 10 take away 5 is 5, 9 take away 7 is 2, and 4 take away 3 is 1. So 125 in total. So in this question, we're looking at changing the subject of a formula. So making t the subject means to get t on its own on one side of the equals sign. So currently, I've got the left-hand side with w and the right-hand side with 3t plus 11. So I need to try and leave t on its own on the right-hand side. So the first thing I'm going to do is minus the 11 from that side. I've also got to do the same to the left-hand side to balance it out. So I'm left with w minus 11 on that side is equal to 3t, because actually the 11 and the minus 11 would cancel each other out to 0. And I need to get from 3t to t. So to get from 3t to t, I divide by 3. So I'd also have to divide this side by 3, which would leave me with w minus 11 all over 3. And I can leave it like that. Okay, So using that example, try this question here. Okay, I've got to leave t, and there's two ways we could have done this one. So the first one, I could have minus the 14 from the right hand side, which means I'd do the same from the left hand side. So I'm left with w minus 14 here is equal to minus 5t, because this negative still stays there, so negative 5t. I've now got to get from negative 5t to t on its own. So to get from negative 5t to t, I divide by negative 5. So I'm going to have to do the same to this side, which leaves me with w minus 14 all over negative 5. And that's one answer I could keep. Okay, an alternate way I could have done that, I could have first of all added 5t to both sides, just to turn it into a positive, and that would have made it easier for me, potentially. So I've got w plus 5t equals 4. Now I've got to rearrange the left hand side, so get rid of the w from that side. So I've got 5t equals 4 minus w, and then to get from 5t to t, I'm going to have to divide by the 5. So I'm left with 4 minus w all over 5. So actually that is another answer I could use. So either of those two answers would be correct. So in this question we're looking at compound interest, which is a grade 4, grade 5 question. So Toby invested £7,500 for 2 years in a savings account. He was paid 4% per annum, which is just per year, compound interest. And that's important, compound interest, which is different to simple interest. So for compound interest, it means we can use the formula because the interest is compounding and it's changing in the actual amount that's earned each year. So I've got the initial investment, which is 7,500, and I times it by the multiplier, which in this case, if it's a 4% increase, I've got my original amount, which is 100%, plus the 4% increase. So I've got 104% altogether. So 104% as a multiplier is 1.04. I raise it to the power of 2 because it's for 2 years. Now I can type that into my calculator, 7,500 times 1.04 to the power of 2, and that gets me 8,112. Question asks how much money did he have in the account. It's not just asking for the interest, so I can write on my answer line £8,112. Can you use that to answer this question? Okay, let's go through. So £8,300 for 3 years, and it's 5% per annum compound interest this time. It says 2 years there, it should say 3 years. Okay, so same thing again. We start with the principal investment, so the 8,300. This time, if it's 105%, because it's an increase, my multiplier is 1.05, and it's to the power of 3, because it's 3 years. So 8,300 times 1.05 to the power of 3 gets me 9608, so 9,608.2875. Now because it's money, I'm going to round that to 2 decimal places, so £9,608.29. If you put 28 pence, you'd still get the mark in this case, but we'd round it up because it's a 7. So in this video, we're going to be looking at grade 4/5 question on ratio and scale and recipes. So here is a list of ingredients for making 16 mince pies. The ingredients are given here, and Elaine wants to make 72 mince pies. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is see if 16 is a factor of 72. So on my calculator, I'm going to do 72 divided by 16. Not an exact factor, but it's 4.5 times bigger. Okay, so the thing that I could do is multiply each of these ingredients by 4.5 because that's my scale factor. So I'm going to do 240 times by 4.5, 350 times 4.5, etc. And that will get me the answer. So 240 times 4.5 is 1,080. 350 times 4.5 gets me 1,575. 100 times 4.5 is 450. and then 280 times 4.5 gets me 1,260. So I've got all of those values. Now another way that I could do that is to work out how much of each ingredient I would need for one mince pie. So I could divide each one by 16, so 240 divided by 16 is 15, and then scale it up, so 15 times 72 will get me 1,080. Now I'm going to do that to check. So 350 divided by 16 gets me 21.875, and I'm going to times that by 72 now, and that gets me 1,575. I'll do the same. 100 divided by 16 gets me 6.25. Times that by 72 gets me 450. 280 divided by 16 gets me 17.5, which I'd need for 1. Times that by 72, 1,260. So I know that they're correct. Use that to try this question. Okay, so same thing again. I'm going to work out what my scale factor is. So 42 divided by 12, which gets me 3.5 this time. So it's 3.5 times bigger. So I'm going to do 220 times by 3.5, 500 times by 3.5, 120 times by 3.5, and 540 times by 3.5. And they're going to get me the values. So I've got 770, 1,750, and again use your calculator for this, 420, and 1,890. Okay, so if I wanted to check that, what I can do is I divide by 12 to work out the cost, the amount for 1. So I'm doing 220 divided by 12 first, then times it by 42, and I should get the same answer. So I'm going to do 220 divided by 12 times 42, which is also 770. 500 divided by 12, which is 41.6 recurring, times 42 gets me 1,750. 120 divided by 12 we know is 10, times 42 is 420. And the last one, 540 divided by 12 is 45, times by 42, 1,890. So I know that they are correct also.